Hi y'all, I'm Aaron and welcome to In Many Worlds. Today I'm going to talk about growing up geek. I was truly born a geek, no question about it. I had a family that completely valued education. It was our primary value in the home, and I took it in from word to go. Our family lore is that I announced somewhere around age 3 that I was going to be a doctor, and nothing swayed me from that. Pretty much, if there was something that you could say would be good for a kid who wanted to be a doctor to do, I did it. Now, in retrospect, one might argue that decisions of a 3-year-old probably shouldn't be regarded as binding. They should be questioned at some point. 3-year-olds aren't necessarily the best decision makers, but I never really questioned it. My family never questioned it, and I just stuck with that. I became obsessed with math and science. Some of that might have been natural proclivity. Some of it might have been that's what I thought you needed to be good at in order to become a physician. Some of my earliest toys were things that kind of played into those interests. I remember one Hanukkah getting an anatomic doll, and not one of those pervy anatomic dolls, but rather one of those anatomic dolls that had a skeleton and had all the internal organs that you could take out and had to put together back like a puzzle. I also loved my Lincoln Logs. I had Legos. I had an erector set at one point, but my Lincoln Logs, those were the best. One of the things, though, I think ended up being a huge benefit for me and pushed me along in terms of just being this, scholastic geek, was having a teacher for a mom. Now, I love teachers. I think teachers are the greatest, and I will probably devote a whole video to that at some point in the near future. But having a parent as a teacher is just wonderful. If there was something that I wanted to learn, be it reading material that was a little too complicated, or moving ahead with math or science, it's great if you've got someone right there in the home that could either teach it to you, or get you the resources that you needed. And this really did push me along academically. I think by second grade I was already working like about 2 grade levels up in math. And that ended up snowballing as time went on. I loved school, I loved learning, and it was great being able to do that not only at school but at home too. So thanks, Mom. By the time I got out of elementary school, I went to this really great combined 7 through 12 middle school, high school combination. I pretty much avoided all sports. I loved it, the academics. Definitely was one of these things of school was good. I had an outside life to some degree, but all of those people that were like, oh, these are the best years of my life. I'm like, well, maybe for you. I knew that these weren't the best years of my life. I knew that that was going to be at some point in the future, and I was just going to get through school and do a good job. I did pour myself into academics. I ended up skipping both 8th and 12th grades. But I got involved with computers really early. We had a Commodore 64 at home, and our school had a Apple computer lab, so I had a chance to learn some early programming. I went to geeky camps and during the summer for computers and science, and ended up participating in science fairs up to the international level. Got involved in some of the early video games, including the text-based adventure games. Loved Dungeons and Dragons, and I just remember when that was first kind of rolling out and acquiring all the different books. Was an avid reader for science fiction and fantasy in particular, and loved my comic books. That started back in grade school, and it continues to this day. I do love my comic books. With skipping both 8th and 12th grade, I ended up going to college at 16. And the way I remember it is I kind of knew that I wanted to go to med school, so I wanted to save money, and because I was going a year early, some of the scholarships that are based on national merit weren't coming through, so I figured it's better to save money for medical school and go to a state school, even though I'd been accepted to some great private schools. In retrospect, I kind of wonder more if my parents may have pushed me in that direction, as they didn't like the idea of a 16-year-old being sent off to some distant place to get to go to college. So I ended up staying in my same town, North Florida, Gainesville, Florida. Went to University of Florida. Go Gators. I was right away ended up joining a fraternity, Alpha Epsilon Pi, and met some absolutely wonderful people. The brothers there, the little sisters, just the best people you could ask for. Still in touch with many of them today, especially much easier now that we've got Facebook. And I think I was kind of a novelty. They nicknamed me Prodigy right off the bat. Later on, after I got into partying and having fun, that went from being Prodigy to being called Vegetable, and later even that morphed to something more specific, being called Zucchini. School-wise, did well. I wasn't a superstar, but I did well, was pre-med, ended up being an English major. I think the fact that I didn't end up wanting to major in a science should have told me something, maybe led me to question a little bit the decision to go into medicine, but nothing was going to deter me from that decision I made at age 3. Looking back, of the period. So I graduated college at age 20. So when you think about my elementary and high school and college, I'm kind of almost surprised that I was never bullied. You think about so many kids growing up, the smart kids, the geeky kids, and who are being bullied these days. And that's pretty much all you read about in the news. And I was teased maybe here and there, but I never really distinctly remember being bullied. Maybe kids were nicer back then. I think to some degree I had some good friends and definitely had great relationships with teachers, and maybe I got shielded from that to some degree. Very grateful that I didn't go through what you hear about so many kids going through, but I kind of made it through with my geekiness intact and being happy to be interested in so many different things, and left with a continued interest in being educated and learning. So that's a little bit about my growing up a geek. I'd be interested to hear what your experiences are. I'd love to hear how where it was, if you yourself were a geek, was that a positive experience? Were you picked on, or how did you end up coping with it? What were the influences that you had that led you to thrive in school and or help develop your interests? Please leave those comments, or I would love to see some video replies. I would also be very excited if people would subscribe and join me. So the link is right down there. Also, I would encourage you to join me and follow me on Twitter, and as well as check out my blog in Many Worlds. And the links for that is right down in the bar below. So thank you for joining me with this, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye.